Stuck on 49 for so long, the Kingsgrove Sports Centre podcast is finally 50 not out. Welcome to episode 50. Been a while, isn't it?
It's been a long while. Good to see you again, Charlie.
You too.
We're back.
We're back. It's good to be back.
Little hiatus.
You know, I miss talking about cricket, and I don't get anything at home when I try and talk cricket to the missus, so...
You miss talking cricket. That's what you live and breathe.
Now, this is the first time
Actually,
I've met you,
It is.
but I'm never going to forget producer Nick over in the corner there.
Hey, here I am, producer Nick over here in the corner.
Have you missed us?
I have missed you tremendously. Yeah, we had some stuff shifting around here at Kingsgrove. We've got some new facilities here at Kingsgrove. So as a result, my office has moved to a new location within the building, and that's where we are now. Is in our new studio. You might notice the desk behind me looks a little different than it used to. So we got the guys set up in a new location. But I'm Nick. I produce the show. But who are you guys? Introduce yourselves.
Okay, I am Hamish Solomons. I've probably knocked over, I'd say, 3/4 of the 50 podcasts.
Yeah.
And so happy to be back. Nick, I've got a question for you. You happy with your new home ground?
It's called the home ground, the NCG. Yeah, it's good, man. So I've got a little bit less space because we were working before out of 2 rooms. I had like an office and then a room dedicated for a studio, and then now I'm in a larger room it's not actually larger. At any rate, my office and the studio room are now combined, so I've got everybody in the same area here. But I do like it. I'm upstairs. It's a little. I'm not as close to the batting nets, so there's a little bit less noise coming from the batting nets, which is good.
Rightio.
Yeah, it's good. I like
Over
it.
in the far left, we have cricket administrator / player extraordinaire Leisa Johns. How are you, Leisa?
I'm very well, Hamish.
What's the latest? Are we getting ready for the new season?
What's the latest?
Yeah.
Well, the wheels haven't stopped turning for the mighty Slayers.
Yep.
And lots have been happening in our off season, and yeah, we're just about to jump into another season. I can't believe it.
Fantastic. And looking forward to talking some women's
Yes.
cricket later on
Yes.
in the show.
It's a good summer ahead.
And in the middle, he's back. How are you, Charlie?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. It has been a long time. I've missed you guys.
What have you been doing? Some interesting stuff?
Oh, yeah, I think we may have mentioned last time I don't work for Kingsgrove Sports anymore, but I will always be an ambassador.
Yeah.
I work in aviation now, and I'm loving that.
He
being
goes
in
in
the sky.
circles.
Yeah.
I do. I fly around in circles.
Coming to think of it, this could be our first show where none of us actually technically work at Kingsgrove, but we all love the joint and we all keep on coming
Well,
back.
we all actually did work at Kingsgrove for
Yes, we
a
have,
point
haven't
in
we?
time.
Did you work?
Yeah.
Did you work here at one point?
I did. I was here for about
Did she
2 or 3
what?
weeks. I didn't get fired, just for the record.
Is that all it was?
Yeah, it was
Felt
very
like years.
It was very brief. and
Why did it feel like years for me?
we hang out
Were you
too
bossing?
much, I think.
Were you bossing me then?
No, I was answering phones and things.
Right, guys. Been a bit of water under the bridge, cricketing wise. What would you like to open the batting with today?
Well, was the water under the bridge a reference to the weather?
Yeah,
Or-
all right. Well, that's a good segue into the World Cricket Test Championship. The GF, I guess you could call it.
Yeah,
The finale, the opportunity for the cricketing world to work out who is going to end up number 1.
Well,
Nobody.
could be equal at the end of it, which is the irony, isn't it?
So that was an interesting one, having the final in England. Big chance it was always going to be washed out. But then again, results do usually happen in England because the ball moves around a lot. And batters,
Well, you've got to get onto the field to get the ball moving around.
True,
And I think
so-
they've lost a whole day's play
I think we've
recently.
two, I think.
We've
yeah.
lost 2
Lost
days
2.
now, day 1 and day 4.
Yeah.
So anyway, how do you guys like the concept of the Test Championship? Are we for it? Are we against it? Does it make any sense to you guys?
Meh.
That sort of indifference is I can sort of mirror that. I like the idea that they're trying to progress the game and trying to bring new things into it. Obviously, we've talked ad nauseum about 2020 and effect that's had on cricket and
Yep.
bringing people in.
Yep.
I like the idea of there being a crowned Test champion,
Yep.
but not at the detriment to your traditional 3-test, 4-test, 5-test series. And the World Test Championship is a one-off game. It seems a little bit throwaway. It's a final, but
isn't that
Test cricket has always been about endurance, and it's a test of your skills.
Yep.
Why go for a one-off game?
True, yeah, that they could make a series of it, but isn't that sport in most arenas where you play a whole season? It comes down to the last game.
In most arenas, yes, but this is Test cricket. This is special.
Yeah.
So perhaps I would have a bit more interest if it was a series.
Yep.
But for me, at this point, I'm like, it's just one game.
It stinks.
Like, I don't know why is it in England for a start?
Well, yeah. I mean, I can't defend that one.
Neutral.
Is it? Is that why they did it?
Well, to be truthful, I mean, I think the team that's getting the most advantage out of this game is probably the team that was ranked 2 coming into the game, New Zealand, because the conditions are most like Kiwi conditions, completely in contrast to what conditions are generally like in India.
I mean, I get the concept, and I think it might work well. It's had a few false starts. So, originally I think they scheduled it for 2014, then they canned it, and then they brought it back, and now it's to replace the Champions Trophy, I believe.
Yep.
But at the moment, it probably hasn't worked as well, given what's going on around the world. Australia missed out by virtue of cancelling a tour to South Africa. So, it
is what it is.
Maybe when the playing fields are a bit more even across all the different countries playing a bit more cricket, I might have a bit more interest. And maybe if Australia was in the final, I might have a bit more interest. But for me...
There's definitely a compulsive argument to have maybe delayed it until COVID is kind of a little bit more better handled. The only defence I can really have for having it in England is, the history and the tradition of maybe having the final at Lords. I understand that there were reasons that it was then moved to Southampton, to the Rose Bowl, but... Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on it yet. For me, still can't beat the Ashes.
Yeah, true that. But at the end of the day, we're trying to grow the game around the world. I'm going to presume that we all love Test cricket as the number one format of the game. We're all purists here. So does this provide the spark or a new spark to our favourite form of cricket? Was it time to just shake things up a little bit and bring something new?
Maybe, but I think they've just been horribly unlucky with the weather over there. They're not going to get a result.
Yeah,
they've got reserve days. Even with those days, they're not going to get a result. So
bit of a damp squib.
It's just kind of petered out to nothing.
Is there a reserve day?
There was 2 apparently. No, one or 2.
So the game will...
This is another day they can play tomorrow.
Yeah,
they're still not going to get a result.
Which I agree with. They might.
Really?
Yeah, because you have a look at it. India, supposedly one of the strongest batting lineups in the world. They managed just over 200 runs. I love the Kiwi bowling. I've got to say, that bowling attack is amazing. They move the ball around beautifully. The slips catching has been fantastic. So, coming into what could be... bowling conditions on a final day. Thank God there's an extra day, because I can't understand why you wouldn't have some reserve days lined up when you're playing a game like this in England. But you never say never in Test cricket.
This is true.
As we record this, 22nd of June, the stated players at India were bowled out for 217, and in reply, New Zealand are 101 for 2.
Yep.
Right. So 2 for 101.
2 for 101.
We're not going to get into that. India lead by 116 runs, but we've had, as we mentioned, 2 days washed out. There's effectively 1 day left.
Yep.
It's probably going to rain.
Probably going to rain because it's the south coast of England.
Because it's England.
So. It does amaze me how England invented so many summer sports.
They made the most of it.
But then my reasoning for picking cricket over, say, football or something else is because we stopped to have tea. So
smart man.
Scones. I've got to say, though, and I do still love catching up on Test cricket, but for me, I think the 2 best places to play cricket in the world are England and New Zealand, because it brings a quality to the game that we've sort of started to almost forget about, except it's so relevant at the moment, and that is the ball moving around, the batters having to really work hard, and it really does bring the best batters to the forefront here, because if they can get through the tough stuff, they deserve the runs that they get, because the level of bowling and the ball moving around like I said before, the slips catching because they're prepared. They know that they've got these bowlers that move the ball around, so they work really hard on that aspect of their game, the slips catching. It's been really, really refreshing to watch from my point of view. I was more of a bowler than a batsman, so that's possibly why. But I just think, the game had become so much of a batter's game that when you watch cricket in England and places like New Zealand where the cloud cover creates an environment where the ball moves around, it's so much more fascinating.
It is. I've said it before, and I've always preferred the Duke's ball. Maybe it's because of what I grew up with. I think it lasts longer and swings a bit more, and that is more of a... And I was a bowler when I was in England. When it came to Australia, I turned into more of a batsman. And the Kookaburra ball, it moves, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But there's a sort of, after you've got the newness out of it, it doesn't move as much unless you work really, really hard on it. And the Dukes, it seemed to... there is a dead period, but then it will start moving again. You get the reverse swing. So... it's different challenges for different places in the world. I really would be interested to see how the Duke's ball would go in places like Australia and South Africa. And likewise, I'd like to see how the Kookaburra ball goes in places like England and New Zealand. So, many factors.
I guess I like the fact that, when England comes to Australia, they have to obviously bowl with a different ball and vice versa. So that's part of that, maybe that home country advantage that you get is having to sort of say, all right, well, you want to be the best cricketing nation in the world, you want to be the best bowler in the world, well, then you have to learn to do it with two different balls or two different types of balls.
Yeah.
I think there's no doubt Australia, for me, I feel like they struggle more over in England with the Duke ball versus the English coming to Australia playing with the Kookaburra ball.
Yeah.
But we're about to find out, right? Because
there's a counter argument to it. You're right.
We've got an Ashes coming up.
The counter argument I'd have is that, save for one series in 2010-11 where England went well, they've struggled over here since the late 80s. And whereas Australia have won in 2001 and they've obviously retained the Ashes last time out. So... and they get to go over and play county cricket, so it's not like the Australians don't know what the Duke's ball is like.
Yeah.
But it definitely is getting used to the conditions in each country.
But I guess it's why they're struggling. So for Australia, it's definitely that swinging ball.
Definitely.
But England coming to Australia could be something different.
Australia, I guess, in the cricketing world, do have a reputation as being home track or flat track bullies.
Yeah.
Especially given now that we've kind of lost the spark that we had at our different grounds, the variances and the differences between Sydney and Brisbane and the Wacker, where the ball would be really fast and carry, and big spinning decks of Sydney. There's not so much of that anymore, and I think that's been an issue for Australia and Australian batsmen going overseas, where they're less adjustable. So that's why I love seeing countries go to England and get challenged in those conditions. And the English with Anderson and Broad have really dominated, because they've been able to move the ball around so well. And I just really love watching it. The Test series recently between England and New Zealand, brilliant cricket.
Two countries that are used to those conditions, and I'm really impressed with the New Zealand team. They're
leaps and bounds. They've just come along so well.
Love watching them.
Enjoyable.
Love watching them. And if you think about it, so fantastic for a country so renowned for their rugby prowess. But, if you think about things, such a small population and, they're virtually top of the world in the highest form of cricket, Test cricket.
Yep. And I'm so happy to see it.
And
I think they play cricket in the right way.
Look, I think they play a nice brand of cricket, and they play it in a pretty enjoyable spirit.
Yeah,
there's nothing too nasty about the way they play. They enjoy their cricket. They enjoy you can tell they enjoy each other's company. The only question mark I have is the haircut of Big Colin. What about
or Colin Miller from back in the day?
No. What's Colin de Grandhomme?
Oh, de Grandhomme.
Have you seen his haircut?
I haven't seen it recently, but
goodness.
I can probably guess it's similar to a lot going around in the elite sporting ranks at the moment.
Oh no,
where they forget to cut half of it.
This can only rank up there with Jason Gillespie at his peak.
Really?
Right.
At his peak.
Are we talking? I'm googling the image here now too. It's what I can only describe as a majestic mullet.
It is one of the great Malays of all time.
Mullet, yeah.
It's definitely up there, isn't it?
Look, I'm from Alabama, man. I can rate a good mullet, and that's a fine mullet.
Yeah, it's pretty special.
It's got some work into it, doesn't it?
It's pretty special.
Full bodied.
Yep. I wonder if he earns more because of
Sponsorship.
It's his thing, you
Shampoo.
know.
Well, it's like what's his face for? Didn't the guy? There's a Hawaiian football. I think it's a football player from Hawaii. He played for, what's that? Troy Polamalu. You remember him?
No.
American football player. I think he played for the. I don't follow the NFL, and I'm going to make a idiot out of myself guessing where he played. Yep. It was I think it was either Green Bay or the Steelers or something like that.
What was his
I'm
name?
probably wrong. Troy Polamalu. Anyway,
Troy Polamalu
had a long flowing mane and ended up getting sponsorships and did commercials for Head and Shoulders or something.
Look, I'm thinking Colin's thinking I am going to make the most of my time in Test cricket. Because sometimes I scratch my head wondering.
Oh, he played for the Steelers. I had it right.
I'm wondering why Colin's actually in there. He's a good cricketer, obviously.
Who's the Australian actor? He looks a little bit like him.
I think the guy you're referring to played Aquaman. Is that
Jason? What's his face? Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
But he's not Kiwi, is he? Is he Kiwi?
Momoa.
No, I thought he was
an
Australian.
Islander name.
I don't know.
Yep.
We're digressing.
We are massively digressing.
What about, speaking of the Kiwis,
American actor,
what about Devon Conway?
Devon.
Making his debut
hasn't
at
he gone well?
Lord's, no less, and just kicks his career off of a lazy double ton against one of the best bowling attacks in the world. Lovely to watch. What a beautiful technique.
Yeah, good on him.
Something only dreams could be made of, right? As a kid, playing at Lord's and then debut, double ton.
He backed it up in the second innings as well with the runs. So
Well,
he got 80 on as well, so.
at the moment, is he the not out batsman? No, he got out, but he got 50.
54.
And like I said, in trying conditions, the Indian bowlers were on song, and he just seems to have a little bit of that special grit. Yeah. Now, whilst we're on the topic of England,
yes,
and Test series against New Zealand, Ollie Robinson. What about that for a debut, and what about the controversy that followed?
Good debut on the cricket field.
Yeah.
Very good.
5 wickets and getting your name on the board at Lord's on your debut, like Conway did with his batting.
I think he missed out, actually. I think he only took 4 wickets.
Oh, he did. Sorry, beg pardon.
There was a dropped catch. I think Broad,
that would have been.
Broad dropped a catch.
Yes.
Not the hardest catch, but Broad dropped a catch just to deny him that opportunity to get on the famous board at Lord's.
That's right. The controversy that you refer to is the leak of historic tweets that he'd written, which may have had some racist connotations. Now, I don't want to defend the tweets because there's nothing defensible about them.
Right.
I do think there needs to be a little bit of common sense when it comes to historic tweets.
Yep.
You know, something that he's written when he's young, he's impressionable, he's maybe just trying to make people laugh with a stupid comment, because that's the way these days. You get more comedians that are out there with the controversial comments that get laughs, and then people put them on a forum such as social media, and people take them seriously. I can't help but feel that there was a concerted effort with the timing of the release of this news on his debut.
It's very coincidental, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. And I think it's a massive shame to try and take someone's big moment away with something that they posted when they were 18 years old and 8 years ago.
Remember what you're doing when you're 18?
Well,
No comment.
I mentioned in the run-up that I think that the memories function on Facebook is purely there so that you can go through and delete your idiotic tweets from or statuses from years ago, and I do that on a daily basis. So I just feel a little bit sad for Ollie Robinson that he's been caught up in that. Obviously, you can't defend what he's written, but at the same time, he's a much, much different person 8 years down the line than he was then, I'm sure.
I would totally agree. We all make mistakes. We will continue to make mistakes. And I think that we need to have room for a bit of forgiveness and move on, particularly when you were so young. There's room that perhaps there's an apology needed, and then let's just get on with it. Let him play cricket.
Yeah, and there's another lesson in that there is, sometimes a time and a place for making jokes. Know your audience. if you're going to put it on somewhere like Facebook and Twitter, then your audience could be worldwide. So the chances are you're going to offend someone.
There's a saying that I feel is really important, probably more now than it's ever been, but the internet never forgets. Don't ever put anything on the internet that you want people to one day forget about.
Having been involved in some reasonably high-level junior rep teams as a coach, you are trained pretty early that your history will come up and bite you on the bottom if you've been a little bit slack in that regard. So, learn very quickly what you should and shouldn't be posting.
Just stay off it.
So whether he had any of that training, then he obviously needs to. Well, you can't turn back time, can you? But he obviously made a bad mistake. However, again, as Leisa says, I think I'm given my age, I'm pretty thankful that at that stage of my life there was no social media and there were no cameras on phones and there'd be a lot of people.
I'm sure there is a plethora of professional athletes in years gone by who are just going, oh, thank goodness social media was not around.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And some of the things...
I'm so glad it didn't exist when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And some of the things that are considered socially unacceptable now were kind of legendary back in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Times have changed. It's the world we live in now. And like I said, junior athletes are trained and taught this from an early age. So, I mean, if he was, then he has to be accountable in some respect. But I just believe, and reading the comments of a lot of subcontinental people and some of the views that Ollie expressed when he was 18 were of a racist nature. They were quite forgiving and said, this is ridiculous. The guy should be allowed to play. And now, we're dealing in a situation where his career could be over because, he has to sit out. He's taking time away from the game. Obviously, there's you've got to think about his mental condition as well, having to go through this particular situation. And some other guy gets a chance and, does he get another chance? Probably. But if the next guy who gets his opportunity comes in and does a great job, well, then Ollie's gone one step forward and probably 2 or 3 steps back.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is, unfortunately, it's given the power to whoever decided to leak this. To know, hey, I can have an effect on this person's life, not just career, life.
Yep.
So, I don't know. You don't really want to make a hard and fast, this is right or this is wrong, because it's not a situation where you can do that.
Yep.
Obviously, what he wrote was wrong. Should it affect the rest of his career? He's issued an apology and contrition for what he wrote then. He's taken time out of the game, which is probably absolutely right at the moment, but the chance that he doesn't get another go at playing for England, and he's clearly got the ability to do so, I just think is a bit of a tragedy.
Yeah, I think the English Cricket Board probably should have... I think they did what they felt needed to be done in regards to... Given the climate...
Yes, I've dealt with
the Black Lives Matter movement and, the series in England with the West Indies and what we're trying to repair here... I felt England the ECB used this as an opportunity to say, look, we are dead against any of this sort of stuff. But
I've dealt firsthand with the England-Wales Cricket Board before, and without going into too much detail, sometimes the way they do things is not right.
Yep.
And I don't particularly like the way they handle the situation that I'm talking about, but I won't go into detail on that. But, there has to be some common sense.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of administrators these days who are very focused on the public impression.
Yeah.
And when things like this come up, they're very quick to act.
Yeah.
I would like to see the administrators and the public, as act is important, but we also need to forgive.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I would have suggested that if the ECB had come out and made a statement, we are totally against what happened going back, but we have talked to Ollie and we know, hand over heart, that Ollie is not this person. That's what he was, that were his thoughts and ideas when he was 18. He's not the same person now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we trust that, and he can continue to represent his country, providing that there's no repeat of anything in the future.
Yeah.
Look, Ollie played for St George, same club that I'm associated with. Probably only 3 or 4 years after those tweets were made, and I have nothing but praise for the character that he was whilst he was representing the club that I've spent most of my life representing. There was no indication that he was any way like that inclined, and so therefore you can just tell in this situation we just needed to get past it. We just needed to move on pretty quick, smart. But it didn't happen.
You can't summarise a person's character in life based on a single tweet or 2 tweets.
Yep.
You can't do it. And like I say, unfortunately, it gives power to the people that have put the leak out there that they can have this effect. Now, there's a whole bunch of young bowlers that are coming through in the England ranks and obviously every country as well. You'll have heard me mention several times on this show the Overton twins. Craig Overton has already played for England. His brother Jamie... twin brother Jamie is a quicker bowler. I'd love to see him in the England setup at some stage. But there's been stories about both of the Overton twins in the past and potential confrontations that they've had in county cricket. That if they get picked for international teams, who's going to bring that back up? It's not relevant at that point.
Yep.
There are a number of players going around that have got a history of things that
So where do you draw the line?
Savoury. Anyway.
Who's looking forward? I think we'll move on from that controversy.
We've put the world to rights.
Yes. And ECB are on notice.
Oh, yeah.
Who's getting a bit fired up for the Australian team getting back together?
In the West Indies?
Well, we've got a little series coming up to the West Indies.
Yep.
And they've picked the squad and they've picked a few backups. And we're very, very pleased with one of the backups. One of our very own, Nathan Ellis, used by King's Sport.
Yeah, good guy. He's been on the podcast.
He's been on the... yes, so...
Let's hope he gets a run.
His star has continued to rise now by being recognised and given a reserve spot on the tour.
I'm glad this podcast has given him the platform he needed to become an international cricketer. How good.
You're welcome, Nathan.
If it wasn't for us.
What I would say about the team... It's quite obvious that there are a few players missing who've elected not to go.
Yep.
Am I being harsh in saying, aren't you contracted?
Yeah.
Isn't that part of your work obligations?
So for me, this is the whole T20 thing, and it just
a bit of a hit and giggle, and whoever wants to turn up.
Gives rise to that, it's only a T20 series.
Okay.
And I've got to say, because of that, it's not my favourite form of the game by any stretch of the imagination. So therefore, it's like, okay, we're going to the West Indies to play T20 cricket.
Well, 5 T20s, 3 one days.
Yeah. So, a little more interest in the one days.
Yeah.
But, look, I'm interested to see how some of these guys will go. There's some guys that I really do hope get a run.
And the other thing is...
But it's tough to keep up with, to be truthful.
You don't go, you give your spot to someone else, perhaps has an absolute blinder. People might... Okay, well, we'll leave him out of the team next time.
Yep.
We'll give it to the bloke who performed.
Yep.
Well, saying that, who, if you look at that list, is there any names that stand out for you that you think are going to be superstars? Either of you two? I haven't paid any attention to it whatsoever.
Yep.
Just putting us on the spot there.
There's a lot of superstars. Again, a little bit one-eyed, but I'm hoping that Moses Henriques gets a go, because I really do think that he's copped a bit of the raw end of the stick when it comes to the fact that he's had some limited opportunities to play Test cricket, and that was in the hardest arena in the world, playing Test cricket in India. He's been picked twice to do that. Never had an opportunity to play in Australian conditions. So I'm kind of hoping that given what he's been through in his career, that he gets a little bit more of a go, because personally I think he is would have been a great cricketer to be leading the country at this stage, but we might have missed the bus there because we went in different directions in regards to selections. Moses had a tough run with injuries at times where it looked like he was shaping, but he's been pretty consistent in the last few years. So he's the guy that I'm always looking to see, when he's in an Australian squad, how he goes and whether he gets an opportunity.
And for me, I'd like to see some of the young guys get an opportunity. So, as we said, those players decided not to go, left room for the other guys. And so, the likes of Riley Meredith and Josh Philippi, and, even Nathan, although he's named as a reserve.
Yep.
You hope that they get a go and they grab that opportunity with both hands. I'd like to see some big results from the youngsters.
Yep.
Yeah. There's huge names missing, like Maxwell, Cummins, Warner.
Maxwell is there.
That's not on my list. Not on my list.
Unless is he one of the ones that are...
He's not playing.
Because he's on this list. But,
well, that list is
yeah,
wrong.
you wrote that
I
list,
could
though.
be the old list.
No, he's not going. Norris
just-
Smith and Cummins, Hazelwood.
Yeah.
Etc.
I must have looked
Richardson.
at an old list. And I went to the effort of printing the list out. And it's wrong.
Oh,
I only got it from the
Stop-
cricket.
stop
I only got
trying.
it from the Cricket Australia
This is
website.
what happens when you. This is what happens when you try to prepare. Hamish.
Yeah, I know.
Just wing it.
Yeah.
Look, it's definitely an opportunity there for some of the youngsters. I don't feel... I said on a previous podcast that I didn't think Josh Hazelwood was suited to the one-day style of bowling. He's obviously a highly skilled bowler, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's rubbish, because he's clearly not. He's playing international cricket.
I dare you.
But, but I'd be interested to see how he goes. He's obviously trying to develop his game as every cricketer is. I've never thought he was the strongest in the limited overs format. But I'm happy to be proven wrong.
He's pretty consistent. Keeps the runs
Oh, he's
down.
consistent.
Yeah.
I do think you're right that he's better in the longer formats. So maybe he's over there for the one dayers.
Well, that's the thing we've got to take into account, that
Yeah.
some of these guys are T20 specialists. Some will be used more in the one-day arena. Now, guys, moving on. More importantly, we've got a huge series coming up in Australia.
Against Afghanistan.
Right, I was talking more. We do. We do.
My mistake.
I was kind of talking about that
No, you're right.
age-old rivalry.
The other one starting with A.
Yes, the Ashes.
Well, we do have a warm-up match against
We do.
Afghanistan.
And
It's
I
going to
think-
place us really well.
And I think Sri
against
Lanka are
England.
even coming out in February after that. But yes, we have the Ashes series. Charlie, any hope for the English?
Oh, how have you worded that question like that? Any hope?
Any hope?
Well,
Oh,
they've just lost
wow.
against New Zealand at home.
Yeah.
And if one thing really did stand out, it's the brittleness of the English batting at the moment.
Yes. There's an old adage that apparently if whichever team has a stronger bowling attack is usually on top. I still think Australia have the stronger bowling attack.
Yep.
And I think they have the stronger batting lineup as well. I think that's a given at the moment, given what we've just seen in the England-New Zealand series. When you say any hope,
Yep.
wow, cricket's a funny
I think
game.
it was carefully worded. I
It
think he
was
chose his
carefully.
words.
It was a loaded question, wasn't it?
I think they've got a lot of hope. England. Because, for me, they're like the Queensland State of Origin team. You
Yeah.
pick the worst team in the world,
Yep.
and they still find a way of winning
Yep.
in an Ashes. Whether Australia throws the games away
Yes.
or we get dodgy decisions, England just seem to find a way to rise with whatever team they've got. Do we not remember the bloke with the glasses? I can't remember his name, who batted and batted and batted, and Australia just needed one wicket.
David.
No, recently.
Yes.
Jack
Guy-
Leach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jack
Guy
Leach, yeah.
Leach is the...
Guy Leach.
Jack Leach,
He's
yeah.
the Iron Man.
Yeah, the
Iron
Nutrigrain
Man,
ads.
yeah.
Look, I think England's hopes on winning games in this Ashes series depend on whether I'm in the country or not. No, I'll explain. It's nothing to do with my playing. I first came to Australia in 2006-07 to play cricket.
Right.
England lost that series 5-0.
Okay.
I wasn't in Australia for the 2010-11 series.
good, so you're
England won
staying.
3-1. The next series, I was back in Australia. I'd moved here permanently. It was 2013. England lost 5-0.
Right.
The last series I was here, we lost 4-0.
So you just
I was
have
at the game in Melbourne where we got the draw. So basically, out of 15 tests in this country, England are 14-0 down.
Can we get ScoMo on the phone because we've got to stop this bloke from leaving our shores?
I've got an Australian and a British passport.
No, you still need permission to leave.
Stay here.
Look, in all seriousness, though, if I had to put a prediction on it right here, right now, I can't see any other team than Australia winning that series. Having said that, I think England's preparation this summer and leading into it is going to be key to that. But even then, I don't know that it'll be enough to overcome the likes of Smith, Cummins, Hazelwood, Warner. I just don't think that England have got enough. I hope they do. I'd love to witness an England victory in a game in Australia, let alone a series.
Well, how about we buy you tickets to all of them?
Hey, I'm not going to say no to that. Free tickets.
That way we can win every match.
Look, I don't know that I'll be able to get to any of the games this year, unfortunately. I'll try to... I've got a new baby on the way, so we're kind of...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that we're going to...
Congratulations on that one.
That wasn't supposed to be... Yeah, but thank you.
Can we edit... Do we need to edit that out?
No. People know.
No, if anything,
People
that's
know,
nice that we have an official 50th episode podcast announcement.
A scoop.
Yeah.
Charlie's going to be a dad, everybody.
Now, if that's not a scary thought for some of you, I don't know what it is. But
you're going to name your child after
a cricketer.
some English cricketers?
I've got to be careful. My mum's not like to watch this podcast, but she's the only one that doesn't want to know whether it's a boy or a girl. So I can't really. Don't want to know. Yeah. So we've run through a couple of names that we haven't settled on anything.
Well, surely you've got to throw a root in there.
Put it. There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Hamish.
We're going to need that explicit content sticker pretty soon, I reckon. Anyway, where was I going with that? Names. You were talking about names. I can't think of any cricketers that have the name that we're thinking of at the moment. Yeah, let's put it like that.
I'm sure we can find a cricketer named Nick. Hold on, let's see.
What's wrong with root? The silence was deafening then.
Yeah.
These
bats, I'm just going to raise that.
No, but isn't he England's captain? Like
Joe. Is his first name.
Right. Yeah.
Or Joseph.
It's got a brother called Billy.
How do you... Well, I guess if it's a girl, you can still name her Joe.
I heard a rumor he had a sister called Anita, but I don't think that's true.
Boom.
Where's the drums and
now
cymbals when you need them?
Now that's a wonderful...
I really need a soundboard, man.
That's a wonderful segue to start talking about women's cricket, Leisa.
Yes.
Can you bring us up to speed?
The worst segue ever.
Yes. But I thought I'd use it. I thought I'd run with it.
He's running with it.
Yep, I'm running with it.
Yep. Good call.
What do we got coming up? What can we look forward to in the world of women's cricket? Which I've got to say, I enjoyed watching some Test cricket in England as well. With the
yes, well, a little bit happening at the moment.
Yes,
England are taking on India in sort of a Test series. The women do a bit differently, so they'll play a Test and then a couple of one-days and a couple of T20s. But that Test match was drawn largely off the bat of a debutante who came in at 9 and developed a 104-run partnership to save the Test match. Now, one thing I did want to talk about in this Test match was England needed 2 wickets to win. Mm-hmm. There was 12 overs to go in the day. And they pulled up stumps and said, we'll just call it a draw. Unless I missed something.
Bad light?
Whether it was light or weather or something. But I'm bowling every one of those balls.
Yeah.
So potentially I missed something there. But yeah, England's having a bit of a warm-up because like their male counterparts, they are coming down under for a Ashes tour of Australia. That is Test match will be in Canberra. And then, as I said, you got your ODIs and your T20s. So Australia are currently the holder of the Ashes. They haven't been able to play it since 2019 for obvious reasons. So, not only do we have the men's, we have the women's Ashes. But also prior to that, we have a very historic fixture of India are coming out to play a similar series. And there will be a historic day-night Test match at the Wacker.
Wow.
That's cool.
So that's going to be very exciting.
That's very cool.
Get around that one, people. I'm sure it'll be on telly. I think it starts on September 30.
Yep.
Just to wet our whistle for the summer ahead. So we're going to take on the 2 big guns in England and India.
So plenty of action.
What do you think of the choice of the Wacker for the day-night Test? in terms of the time zones and being able to view it.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit funny, being in Perth. So, if it starts at the normal time, then it starts later on the eastern seaboard. And then, so starting later in the evening, it's even later over here. So, we're not going to be getting to bed till, I don't know, 1 a.m. I suppose. But, it was interesting timing. But I think, I'm pretty excited. I mean, who loves watching cricket at the Wacker?
Yeah, but if you think about it, or are we getting more Indian people watching from India because of the timing?
Yeah.
That's...
You probably hit the nail
going.
on the head, yeah. So,
with the Ashes, how do you think? Do you think it's going to be closer than the men's?
I do.
Me too.
Yeah, I really do.
I think England have got more of a chance in the women's Ashes than the men's.
Yeah, England have always given us a really tough battle. They're always well prepared. They've sent a lot of their players out to train in the Australian conditions. They play in the WBBL. And I'm really excited to see Australia get pushed. Yeah. I like watching that level rise.
There's going to be the same level of talent coming through now in the Indian ranks in women's cricket that we've seen now for the last 15 years in the Indian men's team. And it was on show in England in the recent tests. I believe there was maybe even a 17 or an 18-year-old girl.
Yes.
With a wonderful batting technique.
Yeah. There was some comparisons to Tendulkar.
Yep. Tendulkar, Sehwag. If that's what's coming through, then watch out to the women's cricketing world.
I think the women's summer is going to be a lot tougher than we've saw more recently.
Yep.
With England and India.
All right.
Yeah. Any predictions on either series?
Well, Australia's going to win all of them, but...
Right. No bias.
No bias whatsoever.
Australia.
Okay.
Home soil. We'll see. I'm hoping, like, in the men's, Anderson and Broad, are they definites to come back over? Because... they didn't have the greatest time last series, and I thought that was the last time we were going to see them.
I think that Anderson... How do you say this about someone who's taken more wickets as a pace bowler than any other pace bowler in the men's game? I don't think he's done, but I don't think that he is suited to Australian conditions. He has had a good series or two, and he's definitely skilled and do that. Broad is more suited to it, but again, he's getting on. He's looking after himself, so good on him. I want to see people like Jofra Archer, people who've got that pace. I want to see him out here, and he worried the Australian batsman in English conditions. What could he do in Australian conditions? I'd like to see people like Ollie Robinson, Ollie Stone. It sounds like he's got a bit of an injury, so he may or may not make it out here. I'd like to see Jamie Overton.
Yep. Ollie Stone came in for Ollie Robinson, right?
No, Ollie Stone played last year, I think, but he's out with an injury at the moment.
I thought he was the one that replaced in the second test after Ollie. He might have. Anyway, doesn't matter. I was just about to say,
he's injured now.
How good's your cricket system going when you can replace one Ollie with another?
Yeah, but no. As for Broad and Anderson, you can't question their quality. The amount of wickets that they've taken as a pairing.
Oh, yeah. I think they'll 100%. Come. How much they'll play.
Yeah. Yeah. If you go in horses for courses, which is the one series that England did win down here, was where they played horses for courses. They had Steve Finn for the first few tests, and he took loads of wickets, but he was a bit expensive. And then for, I think it was Melbourne and Sydney, they brought in Tim Bresnan. So it's a little bit horses for courses, but we had the stocks back then. I don't know if we have that depth anymore.
I think Jofra Archer is the key. I think he's the sort of bowler that England should be looking to in Australian conditions.
Correct.
With a bit of fire.
Yeah.
I noticed you've
I have
brought up one of my favourite female cricketers on your computer.
The reason I brought this up, so we were talking about the women's...
Should we tell them who we're talking about?
Well, we're going to. Yeah, we're going to. So the reason I brought this up is because we were talking about the women's Ashes and who might be playing, and it just piqued my interest whether I'd seen this particular name in the Australian team before, and I haven't, and I don't know how close she is to it. Now, I've actually seen her in the nets here at Kingsgrove, and I think she has one of the best cover drives I've ever seen. Georgia Redmayne.
Absolutely. I think Georgia is the unluckiest cricketer going around. I think she's an exceptional talent with both bat and gloves. I think she got a bit stuck behind A. Healy for that spot. And yeah, I think she's one of the most underrated cricketers. I would have loved to have seen her pull on the green and gold for Australia because I know that she would represent it well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we're going to.
I think we will because you just can't ignore the numbers that she's been peeling off.
Some people try. She's
a multi-purpose player, not even player. You could have her in the team as a doctor. Yeah. She's actually a doctor, qualified doctor. She'd probably prefer
to be playing cricket.
But yeah, there's no reason why this girl with the numbers that she has been recording with bat alone can't play as a batsman.
Exactly.
I'm in full agreement with you. I'd love to see her there. I think she deserves to be picked.
And no one has worked harder to deserve a spot.
I just can't see it happening after all these years.
She's only 27, so there's still time. You mentioned obviously that Alyssa Healy's your wicket keeper. Going back to England as an analogy, we had 3 wicket keepers in the team at the same time at one stage. We had Joss Buttler, Johnny Bairstow, and Ben Foakes, I think. So the idea that if you're a wicketkeeper, you have to play as a wicketkeeper isn't necessary. And her batting, I think, is strong enough.
Well, they're already doing 100%. That. They've got Beth Mooney in there.
Yeah, so there's a precedent. So
they need to. I mean, someone needs to decide. Are her numbers better than others that might be currently in the Australian lineup? And if they are, she needs to be playing. It's as simple as that.
Unfortunately, sometimes the administrators go with the whole youth policy.
Yep.
So that's my only question mark over Georgia.
If they want to win a series, batters are at their best when they're not that young, when they're mature in the head and they've got a whole load of experience under their belt.
I'm in full agreement. I am number 1 fan, Team Georgia Redmayne. Let's get her in the team.
Yep. Now, she ticks all the boxes, and like I said, she could handle a few of the injuries in the team as well if need be. So get her in there, Australian selectors. Otherwise, you're silly. What do you reckon it's time to finish with?
Yeah, we're getting close to our time for this session.
The timekeeper's there.
Wrap this puppy up.
So if you got anything else you want to cover before we...
He's starting to fidget.
Hamish,
what do you reckon, Leisa?
You like to...
Should we do the bit where I try to be funny and fail miserably?
Yeah, let's do that bit. Hamish top 5.
Hamish is unique.
Hamish is unique.
I've been thinking about... I thought about this the other day, and I want to try and develop like a little radio sting for this bit. You know what I mean?
It doesn't have a ring to it, though. Hamish is unique.
Hamish is
unique. It's like a mouthful.
Yeah, if we had like a little radio sting I could play when it's time for you to do this.
Hamish is unique.
It needs
Hamish's unique pre-season preparation.
Okay. It is pre-season.
The top 5 of
you're ringing, man.
Pre-season.
Speaking of pre-season preparation, let's put the phones on silent before we have a podcast.
What a pro!
Only the other day I was watching Gus Walland absolutely slammer you for that. On the podcast that we did.
Really?
He's like, "Hey, your phone going off, you disgrace."
He did too, didn't he? I forgot about that.
Let's not forget the fact that I'm a pretty important person.
All the more reason to
right.
Pretty
I've got my fingers in a lot of different pies.
I don't want to know about that.
I have to be on call. I can't ignore that.
All right, let's talk about your preseason prep.
All right. Let's talk about the keys, 5 keys.
I'm sorry, I'm already laughing because is there a limit to 5 of this?
I actually had to cross one off the list. Oh look, I had a list of about
4, 5, 6, 7.
The ones with the little mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I interrupt.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm going to start from the bottom up. Think about getting coaching lessons to help turn the corner. Operative word: think. Use cost as an excuse to not get coaching and then deal with another season of mediocrity.
Coming from a
resident
cricket
coach.
Yeah. Look, the amount of people that said to me, "This is going to be my season, Hamish. I want to come for pre-season, get some lessons."
And you never see him again.
Going to turn the corner. Oh, what happened to those? Just it was going to be a bit tough financially and all that sort of stuff.
Great, man.
And then a season later, should have had those lessons.
Yeah.
Right. Going to the chemist, one of the key
Is this
elements.
number 2? This is number 2 now, going to the chemist?
Going to the key element for your pre-season preparation. Going to the chemist for different reasons.
Strapping tape.
Number 1, strapping. which I found was very useful at the start of my career when I was trying to avoid doing preseason fitness. So you get the strapping to put around your knee, tell the coach, got a knee injury at the moment, can't do the laps. But then there was a legitimate reason later on in one's career when you're actually using the strapping to keep your body from falling apart.
Together.
Okay.
And obviously very important to fill the little side compartments of your cricket bag with painkillers for pre-season.
I did wonder where you were going with chemist. I was hoping you weren't going down the Walter White route. But.
So what favourite brand of painkiller for the cricket bag?
What was his cash for comment or something?
You're searching for sponsorships.
I'm always looking to improve myself. So maybe I'm not using the best. I need the best.
I find Nurofen works well. It's a bit of this, bit of that. It's a mixture.
I'm a Nurofen guy.
Yeah, I like a bit of Nurofen Plus actually. Wash down with a little bit of Red Bull.
Bit of ibuprofen, yes.
But that's not to be taken by you younger cricketers.
Please don't.
Advil.
All right, number 3, the pilgrimage to a cricket store to buy the little things that you need that you find in your bag that maybe are missing, like inners.
Yep.
Or a new bat.
Well, you go to buy some inners or a hector protector because you always lose your hector protector. Somehow it goes.
No, I don't.
Walkabout. Somehow the cricket hector protector finds a way to go missing between the last game and the first training session. How it grows legs, obviously. But you end up going to your local cricket store and walking out with cricket bat, skins.
New bag.
New cricket bag.
Everything. Gloves.
But with new
Gotta have
equipment,
matching gloves.
With new equipment comes hope. So if you've got to do it, do it. Because if it provides you hope for the next season, then you're in a better place. Anyway, pushing back the date of the first fitness session. Yep. I'm going to start fitness this Monday.
By a couple of years or?
I don't know about years. And then how Monday then becomes next Monday. And then the Monday goes next Wednesday then. And then all of a sudden you turn up and you're not the fit person that you wanted to be.
Yeah. It's game 1 and it's a punish. The following day is all worlds of pain.
And my favourite pre-season occurrence is kind of when you turn up to the first session of training and you open your bag and you realise you haven't cleared your bag from the last game the previous season. There are the whites. There's maybe a bit of lunch that's been
sweaty
growing a brain and other things in your cricket socks.
It's the socks. There's a build-up of socks over the season.
And God forbid if the last game of the season was a bit wet, there's a bit of drizzle, because everything that might have been a little bit green to start with is even more green.
It's mouldy, and you've got to go back to the cricket store.
But I'm convinced in my time as a cricketer that some cricketers that I played with actually purposely left their old clothes and cricket equipment and about 150 Gatorade bottles and stuff like that, just so they could open their bag for the first session and go, oh, look at this, guys.
I imagine it would keep it from getting stolen, maybe, too.
Potentially.
Nobody wants to nick
It's amazing when you actually give yourself that cricket bag cleanup, how much lighter your bag becomes.
It's true.
Sometimes 20
so much
kilograms
room in
lighter.
there. It's
anyway,
fantastic.
they're Hamish's top 5.
Hamish's habits.
Well done.
Hamish's habits.
Hamish's
Hamish's habits.
habits, nice. Yeah, thank you for putting that together for us.
No worries. It's always a pleasure to
good.
share.
That was a good one.
Some of those
That was a good
experiences
one.
may or may not be my own.
Or everyone.
Anything else before we
Generally.
start our wrap-up?
No, I reckon that's...
I think that's a wrap.
Are we still on the same social medias, Nick?
We are still in the same social medias. I'm so glad you said that. So I'm going to just transition us here into our wrap-up because we really appreciate you being with us here for the podcast. It's our first one in a few months. Like I said, we moved house. We had to do some preparation to get everything settled up here to get going. So it's been about 6 or 7 months since our last podcast, but we're really happy to have you and hope that you're watching us on YouTube because we film all our podcasts for YouTube. We put them on... We'll share them to our social media. So if you want to check those out, YouTube at Kingsgrove Sports Center. We're on Facebook at Kingsgrove Sports Center, Instagram at Kingsgrove Sports, Twitter at Kingsgrove Sports. And if you want to reach out to us, give us any feedback on the podcast or have anything you want us to talk about, use the hashtag KSC podcast to get our attention. And then if you're just listening to our podcast, thanks for joining us. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, our iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, anywhere else you listen to your podcast. The RSS feed for our podcast is in the description of every YouTube video. That's my spiel.
Wow, what a mouthful. So that's it.
We're done.
50 episodes done and dusted.
I'm so proud we made it to 50 episodes this podcast. You know, we had a little break, couldn't let it die before we did a 50th. And yeah, after this, we'll talk about what we want to do for the rest of the year. We'll have a little meeting and figure out what we're going to do for podcast schedule.
By the way, Nick, how's the new Kingsgrove catalogue coming along?
Man, you'd have to talk to my next door neighbor, Rapunde, about that. She is the powerhouse behind the Kingsgrove Sports Center podcast. I'm the powerhouse behind Kingsgrove Sports Center podcast. But the Kingsgrove Sports catalog, Roops deserves most of the credit for putting
the
that
greatest
together.
day when it arrives in the mail.
Can't be too long till the little cricketing Bible comes out.
Yeah.
But it is definitely in the works, and she's working hard on it. So look
Fantastic.
forward to that soon.
All right, guys.
Well, in true cricket tradition, surely now that we've reached 50, it's time to say start again.
Yep. Go on. Let's go on
Go
with
on
it.
with it.
We'll see you in a few weeks. And
Yeah.
thank you for watching, guys.
Yeah,
see you
thanks for
next
joining us.
time.